Holy shit, this movie was a train wreck. Jeez. Hey guys, how you doing? So I just watched Mortal Kombat 2021, and I'm insane enough that I watched it twice because, I guess I'm just a masochist in life at this point. I don't have the balls to flirt with copyright stuff on this one, so I'm not going to be able to show you any clips of the movie or anything like that. So I guess treat this one just kind of like a podcast, so to speak, put this on in the background or whatever. I just want to talk about my fucking unfiltered thoughts on this fucking thing. Holy shit. This movie sucked. Alright, so, I apologize for if you hear me cough like that. I'm actually just getting over COVID. Surprise, surprise, right? It took me a fucking year, but I finally caught the damn thing. But I'm all right now, thankfully. So, that's also, this channel I've been slacking on this channel, I won't lie. I've been meaning to get back to it eventually, but shit just has not been convenient for me. I also just went like almost an entire month without a computer because the power supply decided to melt. So, I finally just got that shit back too. But anyway, enough of my life problems. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat 2021 because that really is a life problem. All right. Here's the thing about this fucking movie. By the way, this is mostly just going to be spoilers all the way through. However, I'm going to give you a brief spoiler-free synopsis of my thoughts on this movie right now for you. So if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not recommending you go watch it because I think that there's way better things to do with your time. But if you haven't seen the movie and you were interested and just for some insane reason you were curious what I thought, well, I'll give it to you this way. The action in the movie is all right. The choreography in a lot of things is pretty great. It's just that the fight scenes are edited like shit. It's all choppy and cut together with, close-up after close-up after close-up, and it's just incoherent. That being said, the casting I actually thought for this movie was really good. For pretty much almost every character that's in it, the main lead was not exactly well done. He's a bit of a charisma vacuum, so to speak, and, he just shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be in this movie. Like, what were they thinking? Like, if I could channel my inner James Rolfe for a second, what were they thinking? Like, holy hell. So, there is fatalities in the movie, which are honestly pretty cool, for the main fact that pretty much every single one of them is from a Mortal Kombat game. So I'm not going to spoil what they are, but they are pretty cool, and there is about, I'm going to say, off the top of my head, like 5 or 6 done in the movie, which were really, really cool to see. The roster of characters they went with on this one surprised me a little bit, especially when it comes to the villains. So, if you're a longtime Mortal Kombat fan and your Mortal Kombat rosters, you're gonna probably be maybe pleasantly surprised, maybe pleasantly disappointed by who they chose to go with, but yeah. Oh, excuse me, I need a drink. So, costume design, not bad. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that. Costume design, not bad for some characters. If you've seen the trailer, you probably know some of the characters who are in the movie already. So I feel like it's not spoilers to say that Scorpion and Sub-Zero are in the movie. Kung Lao and Liu Kang are in the movie. Kano is in the movie. Sonya Blade is in the movie. Raiden and Shang Tsung. Scorpion, his costume was all right. I feel like they almost nailed Sub-Zero. My only problem with that is, like, he really should have been a brighter shade of blue. His armor, it looks a little, like, his armor is, like, a little too dark blue. It's a little too navy to the point that it doesn't look blue at all. It kind of looks like blackened iron or steel. And it would have been nice to have a little bit of Cobalt in there, a little bit of cerulean, if I could break out my 250 Crayola crayons for a second. Kung Lao, I was critical of his costume design because I thought it would look out of place, but after watching the movie and seeing it in action and seeing Kung Lao in action, I think he stole the show as far as looking the best and performing the best. And I think the actor who played Kung Lao in this really is not getting the credit he deserves because he did a fucking phenomenal job. Kano is in the movie, and he's probably the best part of the movie because he's fucking hilarious. And pretty much everything he fucking said made me chuckle like a small child, celebrating his birthday. So, and I'm not really even a big fan of Kano as a character, but they absolutely butcher his backstory with Sonya Blade and stuff like that in the movie. But as far as like portraying that Kano criminal scum attitude with that, over the top Australian, I'm trying to pick my words carefully because I don't want to offend all my Australian viewers, all two of you. So, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, the actor nailed like that Kano aesthetic that has been Kano since the original Mortal Kombat movie from '95. So that was really good. Raiden, his costume is meh. I don't know. He doesn't look that good. I thought Shang Tsung's costume was all right. I thought it was not that bad. It communicates the idea well enough. It's funny because he actually reminded me a lot of why am I blanking on a name? Big Trouble in Little China, sorcerer guy, Lo Pan, I think that's his name. Which is funny because I believe that's the character that was the inspiration for Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat game. And I just thought it was cool that it might be totally unintentional too, but I just thought it was cool how his costume design reminds me of the character that was pretty much like the influence for Shang Tsung. Excuse me. So, the plot of this movie, spoiler free still, plot of this movie is a mess. It's just a total mess. Everything about it is a total fucking mess. From the main character, DeviantArt OC Do Not Steal guy, who's like this MMA fighter, and they got like fucking magic tattoos or birthmarks or whatever. That means they've been chosen for Mortal Kombat. And, it's just a mess. The best I can describe this movie is it felt like a movie with a bunch of Mortal Kombat characters in it that had nothing to do with Mortal Kombat. It felt like it was a superhero movie with Mortal Kombat characters in it. And now I know some of you are thinking, oh, that sounds amazing on paper. And, in some forms of the universe, the end result of that piece of paper is in fact amazing. But the fact is we live in this universe where it just doesn't work. And I'll get into detail of why it doesn't work as, once I start getting into spoilers and all that. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm going to probably try to edit out some of these coughs, but I'm probably not going to be able to catch them all. So, yeah, all said and done, Mortal Kombat 2021 is just a mess of a movie that just isn't good. And there are some good things in it. As much as it pains me to admit, there are some good things in it. There's a surprisingly genuine amount of good fan service in it. Not fan service in like the horny way, right? That's how it's typically used. But I mean like fan services in like callbacks to things and nods to the series and stuff like that. There's a lot of that, from the fatalities to even some of the choreography has characters breaking out moves from the game, and I'm not even talking about special moves. It was most noticeable in a fight that Kung Lao has, where he does a lot of his normals from some of the most recent MK games, which was really cool to see. And again, I really think that the actor who played Kung Lao in this, now I'm biased because I do like Kung Lao a lot, but I do think the actor who pulled off Kung Lao in this one nailed it. I think he was the best casting in the movie, and besides, oh, excuse me, best acting in the movie besides Kano. And as far as like accurately portraying the character he's supposed to portray, and he might have even been one of the best martial artists in the movie, it looked like to me, because he just flowed so seamlessly with everything he did. It was really great. Liu Kang also in the movie. The actor who played Liu Kang, I feel, I don't know. See, I'm trying not to compare him to Robin Shaw from the 95 movie, but he doesn't have that level of charisma that like Robin Shaw seemed to have. And I'm not saying that Robin Shaw was the most charismatic guy, but I don't know. There was something flat about Liu Kang in this movie, I personally thought. That said, though, the actor looked the part really well, and he could definitely fight. He definitely knew his martial arts, so that was good to see. Oh, excuse me. So, like I said, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are kind of like the focal point of this movie, kind of, sorta. And if you've seen the 7 minutes of the movie that got released on YouTube, they released like the first 7 minutes of the movie, which is all about Scorpion and Sub-Zero. That's honestly like the best part of the movie. So if you've seen that, you've seen the best part of this movie, is the opening scene. Jax is in the movie. I almost forgot. Jax is in the movie. I thought the actor who played Jax was fine. I just did not like what the method they used for him to get his, his defining feature there, his robotic arms, or cybernetic arms. I don't know, what is the correct term for that? Cybernetics? Maybe, I guess. It's a very cyberpunk thing when you think about it. And I don't mean the 2077 game, I mean like the actual genre. Sonya Blade also in the movie. I thought she was all right. They went for a more comical, casual Sonya Blade, which is actually a nice change in the sense that, it, in a lot of these portrayals lately, she's sort of been like this, like, super militant, super, not rough around the edges at all kind of character. That's basically the pinnacle of lawful neutral pretending to be lawful good is Sonya Blade in most recent things. And in this one, she's a bit more on the chaotic side a little bit. She's a bit more free-spirited. She's a bit more fun. Her costumes were, it's just, it's Sonya Blade. There's not much you can really do with Sonya Blade, to be honest, to make her really stand out. But I thought the actress who played her did an alright job. Melina is also in the trailer, so you probably know that she's in the movie, and she just looks bad. Her entire costume design is just so bad. That's the best I can just describe it. Just everything about the mouth. They failed miserably with that, and it's just, and she shouldn't even be in the movie, and I'll get to that later down the line, but she shouldn't even be in the movie, okay? She should be in a fucking sequel movie where she'd be more relevant. So, anyway, complete spoiler-free, final thought is, this movie's not really worth the time. If you're a masochist and you already have access to HBO Max, you can watch it. It won't hurt. If you pretty much want to see the best scene in the movie, watch the opening 7 minutes that already got released. On YouTube, it's free. At least I'm pretty sure it's still up there. If not, then feel free to type Mitch, eat shit, you ugly liar in the comments, and I won't care. I'll fucking pin it. But hey, that's only if it's still not up there. If it's still on YouTube, you can't post that, okay? I'll ban you. Anyway, so yeah, those are my final spoiler-free thoughts. So let's get into spoilers, because I gotta talk about just how much this movie frustrates me. So, first of all, let's talk the opening scene. So, it opens up with 1600s Japan, which, you know, the thing about this whole Scorpion and Sub-Zero feud is I feel like they can never decide when exactly this fucking takes place. Because, in MK Mythologies, right, which is the video game, it kind of it takes place in this sort of like Shaolin temple where they encounter each other and kill each other, and it's unclear as to when this is supposed to take place. It's supposed to be before the first Mortal Kombat tournament, which is held in the 90s canonically, and Shang Tsung shows up at the end of that game to say to Sub-Zero, hey, come fight in Mortal Kombat. So, in later games, though, they've sort of retconned the shit out of this to, like, basically Sub-Zero, who, reminder, in MK lore, it's not actually Sub-Zero who kills Scorpion's family. Although, again, they're unclear about it still. I believe that in current MK lore, Bi-Han still kills Scorpion, but it is not Bi-Han who actually goes and kills Scorpion's family. But I digress. So in this movie, they decided to set it in like feudal Japan, which begs a lot of questions about just how old Sub-Zero is. So, you know, Scorpion's there with his wife and kids. Actor who plays Scorpion actually really good casting, in my opinion. Did a really good job. But he's there with his wife and kids. I think their names are Satoshi is his son, and Harumi is his wife. And he has a unnamed daughter who's like a little tiny baby. So the Lin Kuei attack, right? He goes out and he gets fucking water from the river or some shit, and then the Lin Kuei attack the village, and, you know, he goes back and he hears his wife scream in the distance, and he runs back and he fights all the Lin Kuei guys, and you know, there's this moment where he's like, I need a weapon, and he sees the fucking kunai on the ground, and there's just a fucking piece of rope right next to it, just so conveniently placed, you know. There just happened to have been a kunai with a fucking hole in the hilt for him to conveniently tie that rope. So he runs over there and he picks up the kunai and he puts the rope in the hole and he ties it. And meanwhile, the Lin Kuei guys, who he's just fighting, there's like 10 of these guys, and they just give him a couple of seconds to do that. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, take your time, Hanzo. We'll fucking kill you anyway. So you get this like group fight scene where he fights these Lin Kuei guys, and honestly, it's not that bad. There's a lot of copious use of Scorpion's spear as a weapon, which is pretty cool to see. There was one moment though where like there's a Lin Kuei, which I would call bad choreography. There's like a Lin Kuei guy, and he has a sword in his hand, but he runs at Hanzo. But he's not in like an attacking stance at all. He's like holding his sword out to the side, not even ready to like strike. And he just like runs right at Hanzo, and he gets killed. And it's like, what the fuck? What was that guy's plan? What was he going to do? I want to see the alternate universe where the story is completely different. And that guy, whatever plan he had in his head, it fucking works. And he gets a blow in or something, you know? Like, what the hell was that guy thinking? So anyway, he kills all the Lin Kuei guys, and then he goes and finds Sub-Zero, right, who we also see, like, he interacts briefly with Scorpion's family, and he kills them off screen. He freezes them, but Scorpion finds, like, their frozen bodies. And Sub-Zero is, like, super multilingual in this movie. He speaks Chinese, right, and then he also speaks Japanese, and he He apparently also speaks English, perfect English in the 16th century, which raises a whole bunch of questions about the Lin Kuei, of why their motto in this movie, which is for the Lin Kuei, is always said in English, even in the 16th century. It was a little odd. So yeah, he and Scorpion exchange some words, and Sub-Zero's an asshole, and even though he speaks Japanese, he talks to Hanzo in Chinese only. And Hanzo's like, I don't know what the fuck you just said, but I'm gonna kick your ass anyway. So they fight, and they have a pretty decent fight scene. My only problem with it was way too many cuts in it, right? So this is my biggest problem with a lot of the fight scenes in this movie, because the choreography itself isn't that bad for a lot of it, but it's really the editing that kills it. And this is something that I've heard Jackie Chan talk about when it comes to like the art of making a martial arts fight scene in a movie. I've recall watching at some point Jet Li talk about it. I recall watching one of the guys from the Raid movies talk about this, and I've even read an interview once with Robin Shaw talking about it, which is basically the key to making like an impactful martial arts fight scene is you do things with long shots and long takes so you can see like all the movement and all the action clearly. And then when you need to highlight a blow that's like really impactful, that's when you cut the close-up, right? That's when you cut the close-up. That's when you see the blow get delivered. That's when you hear the fucking sound effect. And, you know, in the case of like a Jackie Chan movie, sometimes what he does is he'll fucking deliver the blow in the long take, right? As part of the long shot. And then he'll cut the close-up and you'll see the same blow get landed again real quick as like a quick cut, right? And I'm not saying this movie had to do it exactly like that, but the thing is, this movie is just like, it's constantly cutting between close-ups and medium shots and close-ups and extreme close-ups and medium shots and fucking medium long shots, all in the fight scene. And sometimes it's a little hard to just appreciate exactly what these guys are doing, because they're doing some really cool stuff, but it's like the camera, the way they chose to shoot it and the way they chose to cut it together sort of hides that talent instead of really bringing it to the forefront, right? And there's a point later in the movie where they make another crucial mistake, which is instead of like focusing on one fight between one character at a time, they start like intercutting between all these different fights going on, and you just feel like a fucking ping pong ball in like a game of fucking doubles, just getting bounced back and forth between like 4 different people, right? Oh, excuse me, sorry. Do they even have doubles in ping pong? I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely don't know that much about ping pong. My only real exposure to ping pong has been the movie Forrest Gump and the video game Pong. So I'm just gonna assume they have doubles because ping pong is like a miniature version of tennis, right? And they have doubles in tennis. So where was it? Okay, so yeah, he fights. So Scorpion and Sub-Zero have a fight scene. It honestly is a pretty good fight scene. Sub-Zero ends up killing Scorpion, and you know, Scorpion does this whole dramatic thing like, "Oh, remember my face," right? And then Sub-Zero he kills Scorpion, and then even though he was speaking Chinese and Japanese, he just decides to say in English, "for the Lin Kuei," which is, I don't know, it was weird. It was, why does this Chinese ninja warrior speak perfect English in the 16th century? It's just odd. Like, I can get him speaking Japanese. That would make sense, right? And it also makes sense why Scorpion wouldn't really speak Chinese, because Japan at the time would be pretty much an isolationist country. Feudal Japan was very isolationist by nature. So, I mean, that would all make sense. But as far as I know, I don't think the English had even been to China by 1617. So I could be wrong about that. If you're a historian, feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm curious to know when the English went to China. I don't think it was in 1617. That seems very early still. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. Where was I? Okay, yeah, so Sub-Zero kills Scorpion. Scorpion goes to hell, goes to the Nether Realm, and then Raiden shows up and rescues Scorpion's surviving daughter, who was, basically, they hit her in the floorboards when the Lin Kuei showed up. And even though she was a screaming, crying baby, none of the Lin Kuei people found her. So, Raiden shows up, and he rescues this baby girl, and then we cut to Cole Young, which, you know, I gotta give credit where credit is due, with the simple fact that when we first see him, right, he's wrapping his fists in, like, this yellow, wrapping, right, because he's an MMA fighter. I think it's tape. He's taping his hands or whatever, and the tape is yellow, and the cool thing about that, I thought, you know, is later on in the movie, we find out that Cole Young is a descendant of Hanzo Hasashi, because, you know, everything about Mortal Kombat these days is pretty much, let's all gather around in a circle and suck Scorpion's dick. You know, in fact, the whole plot of this movie is like, there's this prophecy that, you know, Outworld's gonna be able to win 10 Mortal Kombats, but then the bloodline of Hanzo Hasashi is going to save the day. And it's like, geez, dude, we didn't have enough Scorpion wanking with fucking the Scorpion's Revenge movie? Like, and I like Scorpion. I like Scorpion as a character, but I don't know, the Scorpion circle jerk with NetherRealm and the latest Mortal Kombat stuff has started to get a little grating on me. I won't lie. So yeah, we got Cole Young, and he's taping his fists in yellow, and he's got a wife, and he's got a daughter, and his daughter's like a teenager, which is interesting because this dude doesn't look a day over 22. So I don't know how the fuck that happened, but yeah, he's got like a daughter, and his daughter's he's gonna be his corner person for his MMA fight, and this guy comes in and he starts busting Cole's balls, and he's like, Cole, you fucking suck, you can't fight for shit. And then Cole's like, well, maybe I'll quit. And then he's like, you can't quit, you need the money. He's like, yeah, you're right. Or he says something to that effect. So he goes and has this fight in this MMA ring, and really, I don't know. I'm not a big MMA guy. I'm sure if you're into MMA and you're into all like the tackling and the ground and pound and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure it's very appealing. But to me, I thought it was like the lamest fight in the entire movie. Although there's one fucking super cringy part, which is going to bring me into a whole rant about fucking referential humor these days and stuff. Basically, Cole's in like a clinch headlock with this guy, and his daughter's like screaming, "Dad, throw your uppercut!" Right? Because, I mean, we all know that the fucking big uppercut in Mortal Kombat at this point is like a fucking meme, right? So it's all everybody fucking goofs on about is like, oh, the uppercuts in Mortal Kombat, you hit them under the chin, they go flying in the air, the blood goes everywhere, fucking, yeah, okay, I get it. I've been doing it since fucking 1994 when I was fucking 0 years old, alright? I understand how the uppercuts in Mortal Kombat works. Trust me, there's a lot better ways to do things in Mortal Kombat than just uppercutting everybody. But anyway, so, you know, she screams like, "Dad, throw your uppercut." And, it's just, first of all, there would be no way for him to do an uppercut because he's in a headlock, right? So it would simply just be impossible. Secondly, that's the kind of referential humor that I don't like in movies. Like, I'm all for them, you know, making references to the games and stuff like that. And, like, making references to, like, moves from the games, right? But when you, like, call it out like that, and you, like, call attention to it, it's just, I don't know, it comes off to me as a little cringe, number one, and number two, it kind of ruins your immersion, because it doesn't feel natural to the moment. It doesn't feel diegetic whatsoever. It feels like breaking the fourth wall to be like, hey, remember the uppercut in Mortal Kombat? hey, Dad, you should do the uppercut from the Mortal Kombat video game in the Mortal Kombat movie. And it's stupid. And now contrast this with, later on, there's a fight scene where Kung Lao fights Cole Young, where they're, like, training. And this is what I was saying about, like, how they really nailed Kung Lao. And I don't know if it's more a testament to them nailing Kung Lao in the choreography, or more of the modern Mortal Kombat games nailing that style of wushu, like the Wing Chun stuff, really nailing that kind of stuff in the moves in the video game. So I don't know which one it is, but it's great because Kung Lao does a lot of the fucking moves that he does in the game. Like, he does his fucking chain punch, he does his, a lot of his spin kicks, right, and all that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of stuff, like breaking out moves like that and making it flow and feel diegetic in the world and being like, hell yeah, this is accurate, this is how it should work. That's the kind of shit I like. But also in that same sort of sequence, there's this scene where Liu Kang is training with Kano, and we'll get to Kano, I promise you. But he's training with Kano, and basically they make fun of the sweeps in Mortal Kombat because Liu Kang does a sweep and knocks Kano off his feet, and Kano's like, oh, yeah, try that again. And then Liu Kang does it again, and he sweeps him again. And he's like, oh, is that the only move you know? And then Liu Kang goes down to, like, fake a sweep, and Kano, does a jump in the air. He jumps to avoid the low attack. And then he lands on the ground, and Liu Kang just sweeps him again. And, like, that, like, it's funny, right, as, like, a referential thing. But at the same time, it's just, it's cringy, and it doesn't feel natural for the fucking world of the movie, Stuff like Kung Lao fighting with his actual techniques from the game works really well. It's sort of like, if you've ever seen the Street Fighter movie Assassin's Fist, they did this really well, where when Ryu and Ken fight and spar with each other in that movie, they do a lot of their normals from the video games that have been around for a while, like Ryu's Donkey Kick and the Collar Breaker, and Ken does his target combo in that movie, right? But they make it feel natural and flow with, like, the actual fighting techniques. And I wish this movie had more of that kind of stuff instead of the, good old-fashioned, hey, Dad, throw your uppercut from the Mortal Kombat game in the Mortal Kombat movie. Or, Liu Kang being like, hey, Kano, I bet you can't avoid my sweep spam from the Mortal Kombat video game in the Mortal Kombat movie. So, I don't know. It's stuff like that I just don't really like. So anyway, Cole gets his ass beat in the MMA ring, and Jack shows up. And this is where we get this fucking nonsense about, like, basically Cole has a birthmark that's the Mortal Kombat logo. I'm just surprised. It's like fucking action figure branding. I'm just surprised it didn't say, like, made in Taiwan underneath it or something. Jack starts interrogating him about it, and they meet, and he's like, oh, it's a birthmark, it's not a tattoo, and blah, blah, blah. And then we cut to, like, Cole and his family getting dinner at, like, fucking, I don't know what restaurant it is, because they don't show it. I'm just going to assume it was some, like, burger joint, I think, because the daughter was eating french fries. But she also had an ice cream cone, so I don't know if it was, like, fucking Wendy's or some shit. Does Wendy's serve ice cream? I don't even know. Anyway, they're just having a grand old time, and then it starts snowing out of nowhere. Because Sub-Zero shows up to kill people. Oh, by the way, I forgot about a scene. So, there's a scene before all this happens where we go to Outworld. And Outworld is just a fucking desert and a cliff. And Shang Tsung just has a throne on the cliff in the desert. Because set design does not exist in this movie. Right? There's no such thing as set design in this movie. So, Sub-Zero is brought before Shang Tsung. And I guess he works for Outworld. It's very unclear. Sub-Zero's whole character motivation in this movie is very unclear as to whether he's... I think it's implied he might be from Outworld in this movie. which I mean technically isn't too far off from the lore, because technically Sub-Zero is from a race of cryomancers who were originally from, I believe, Outworld. But that's in the games. He's fucking technically from Earth, born and raised on Earth. But in this movie, it's just unclear as to whether Sub-Zero is actually from Earth or if he's from Outworld or whatever. And Shang Tsung is like, Bi-Han, you've come to serve me. Let's go and we have to assassinate all the champions of Mortal Kombat before the tournament. And Sub-Zero's like, I'm not Bi-Han anymore. I'm Sub-Zero. And it's, it's whatever. So he gets permission from Shang Tsung to go and assassinate everybody and pretty much break the rules of the tournament. Because, this is the era of Mortal Kombat where everybody's incompetent. This is the incompetent era of the Mortal Kombat lore, where every character is incompetent. The Elder Gods are incompetent. They don't do anything. Raiden is incompetent. He can't stop anything from happening. This is also true of the games. Fucking the main hero of the story, Liu Kang, is incompetent. He can't do anything right. Everybody's incompetent in the new era of Mortal Kombat. So, excuse me, sorry. 1 sec. I'm gonna try to cut this part out. It might be a little gross. Excuse me. All right. Sorry about that. So, yeah, everybody's incompetent in the new Mortal Kombat movie. So anyway, Sub-Zero shows up and he attacks Cole's family at 7-Eleven, or wherever the fuck they are. And he's making shit like he's flinging ice all over the place, and Jack shows up in a car and he's like, Cole, get in the car! And Cole gets in the car with his family and they drive off. And he starts like, Sub-Zero's hunting you for your birthmark. And Jack lifts up his shirt and he's like, look, I got a birthmark too. And, it's like, okay, that's the angle we're going with now. Everybody who ever fought, every Mortal Kombat character has a fucking cringy dragon tattoo. That's a birthmark. Almost like, hey, doesn't that sound familiar? They did that before in a Mortal Kombat movie. I'll give you a hint. It was the one that's really, really bad. And no, I don't mean the original, because I'm going to go on a rant later about how I'm fucking tired of beating around the bush. I'm going to say it right here, right now, actually. You know what? Fuck it. The 1995 Mortal Kombat movie is a good movie. And I'm sick of people pretending it's not a good fucking movie. That movie is perfectly fine. Okay? There's, quite frankly, very little that's actually bad about it. The CGI of Reptile is bad. Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do. So what? There's not enough gore and blood and guts in that movie. Yeah, well, you know what? After seeing this movie, I want a written fucking apology from everybody who ever made that criticism. Everybody who was ever like, it's Mortal Kombat, but there's no blood and guts everywhere. Like fucking Nostalgia Critic and fucking James Rolfe. I want a fucking written apology from all of them, because you know why? There was tons of blood and guts in this movie and it still sucked. So I don't want to hear that anymore. That's not a valid criticism. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? But in that movie, the fucking costume design is on point. The choreography is on point. The editing is on point. Everything about that movie is fucking good and memorable and fun. The soundtrack is awesome. The fucking locations and set design is great. The lighting is great in that movie. Everything is great in that movie, okay? I'm not saying it's the perfect movie. I'm not saying it's the most magnificent movie ever made, but I'm sick and tired of people saying that movie is bad. It's not bad. You just have bad taste, alright? But anyway, about this fucking dragon tattoo cringy shit. They did that shit in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where, like, Shao Kahn gave fucking dragon tattoos to fucking all his subordinates so they could travel around between the realms. And fucking, there was, like, a fucking dragon birthmark tattoo on Cyrax, on, like, the fucking robot or whatever. It was so stupid. So, I've seen this shit before. But anyway, they escape with Jax, and Sub-Zero in this movie, it's weird. It's almost like this movie wanted to be like a thriller horror movie with Sub-Zero, because he's just like a fucking ominous monster that stalks people. and like can just appear out of nowhere. So Jax is driving, telling Cole about fucking the birthmark, and then he turns down this alleyway, and Sub-Zero's just there waiting for them. And it's just like, okay, so Jax could have chosen any point to make that turn. Why did he happen to just go down this street? And how did Sub-Zero know he was going to go down that street? Or was that just all a happy accident? Was Sub-Zero running through the city like, fuck, I gotta find these guys, I gotta find these guys. And Jax was like, fuck, I gotta get away from these guys. And they just both happened to turn into the same street at the same time. I'm going to assume that's what happened, because otherwise it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. So Jax, for some reason, instead of just going in reverse and going down a different street, right? Because now you know where Sub-Zero is. So you know where he's not, right? Unless he can just actually teleport all over the place. I thought, you kind of needed like Shang Tsung and his magic to do that, but that starts to become a little unclear towards the end of the movie. So Jax decides in his infinite wisdom to get out of the car and fight Sub-Zero. And he tells Cole, you gotta go to Gary, Indiana, go find Sonya Blade. And Cole's like, okay, give me the address. I'll definitely remember this address that you told me real quick in a moment of tension and panic without writing it down. So it should be a miracle later on that he actually finds Sonya fucking Blade. So anyway, Jax has a fight scene with Sub-Zero in a warehouse. Because, like I said, set design doesn't exist in this movie. It's all location shooting. So they have a fight scene in this warehouse, and honestly, the fight scene isn't that bad. It just has all the same problems that the other ones have. Although this one is probably the second best fight in the movie besides the initial fight between Hanzo Hasashi and Bi-Han. So the most notable moments of this fight scene are, there's a really cool effect where Sub-Zero freezes the gun while it fires, which is, like a nice reference to the 95 movie where he freezes Sonya Blade's gun before she can fire it. This was kind of like a one-up on that. Like, this time he's gonna freeze the gun while it fires, and he's gonna freeze the fucking bullets while they're shooting out of the gun. I thought that was really cool. And then there's the big moment which you see in the trailer, which is where Sub-Zero freezes Jax's arms and shatters them. And that's how Jax gets his robotic arms in this movie. So Sub-Zero just assumes that Jax is dead, and just leaves him to die. And then we go cut to Cole. He checks his family into a motel, and then he goes to find Sonya Blade, who's like living in some fucking trailer park for some reason. She's got like a fucking, little base of operations set up where she's like, I don't know, she comes across as like a schizophrenic conspiracy theorist where she's got like this big fucking cork board that's just full of fucking pictures of Mortal Kombat related shit, and it's got like fucking pictures of people with dragon tattoos and pictures of fucking characters from the video game and fucking references, ancient Mayan references to Kotal Khan, and honestly some of it was pretty cool because you get like she's like, cultures from all over the world have mentioned a great tournament in their oral histories, and you get like a shot of like what's obviously supposed to be from some like anthropological book from like the early 1900s, and there's like a drawing of a Native American who is Nightwolf, right? Which begs the question of how old is Nightwolf in this fucking continuity. But it's just, that's kind of like cool details. And then there's like a printout of like an internet page from like some dude's fucking Angel Fire site from like 2008. That's, it's got like some fucking picture of some like Mayan totem, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be like a Kotal Khan reference. I didn't study it long enough. I couldn't be bothered, but it was just like quick things that you pick up on. Excuse me, sorry. So, anyway, Cole finds Sonya Blade and she like is like, you've been chosen for Mortal Kombat. See, here's somebody wrote Mortal Kombat in graffiti on a fucking wall somewhere in red. And the K, it's spelled with a K, and the K is backwards. And Cole's like, you made that up. You even spelled it wrong. And, that's one of those referential humor things that's like, I don't know, it kind of took me out of the movie a little. Like, you're really going to make the joke about, like, it's combat with a K in the Mortal Kombat movie? Like, that's just, it's dumb. I don't like shit like that. It's dumb. It's not immersive. It ruins my immersion. Because now it raises all sorts of questions about the in-universe thing of the movie of like, why is it spelled with a K? Who stipulated that it should be spelled with a K? Was it the Elder Gods when they first created it that decided that it should be spelled with a K? Why on earth did they choose the English language to name this great tournament? Or did they stipulate that when Mortal Kombat is said in English, it should be spelled with a K? When you say Mortal Kombat in other languages, like for instance, if Hanzo Hasashi was to be speaking Japanese and was to say Mortal Kombat, would he say it, like Motoru Kombato? And would he have to spell it with katakana? Or would he say it with its actual Japanese, the Japanese word for mortal and the Japanese word for combat, both of which I'm blanking on right now. So, it begs a whole bunch of questions like that. So who came up with that? Why is it spelled with a K in this universe? It raises questions that shouldn't even have to be raised. And that's me nitpicking, but I like to nitpick, deal with it. Anyway, so Kano is in the movie, and he's just like chained up in Sonya Blade's basement, because, reasons, I guess. Basically, Sonya was looking for some dude with the dragon marking, and she found Kano like right after he killed the guy, and it establishes that if you kill somebody with the dragon tattoo, then you get the dragon tattoo. Which is like the lamest fucking shit ever. So, Kano's there in the basement, and he's fucking hilarious. And I'm pretty sure the actor is just improvising the entire fucking time. He is the best part of the movie in the sense of like comedy. He is the comedic relief of the movie, and it's honestly pretty damn fun. Absolutely butcher the whole backstory with Sonya and Kano. So like there's a deep, history and backstory between these two characters of like how Kano killed Sonya Blade's partner, and she has a personal vendetta against him, and she's been hunting him for fucking years, and all this and that. This is all in the games. None of that is in the movie whatsoever. Kano is just like some mercenary from the Black Dragon, and Sonya fucking looking for dragon tattoos found him and chained him up in her basement. For some dumb reason. So this whole, rendezvous between these characters is cut short when, I guess Reptile shows up. I don't know. He's got like some dumb name that they made up. They pulled out of their ass. That sounds like some fucking shitty, D&D lizard man character named Scythezoth, right? It just sounds stupid. So Reptile shows up, and he's this CGI alligator man monstrosity, which would be cool. It's just that, like, I don't know, man. I would prefer Reptile to be like a ninja. Like, that's Reptile, Like, they made, like, the Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance mistake. Remember when they turned Reptile in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance into literally just, like, a fucking lizard? And everybody hated it and thought it was so stupid? That's not what I want, right? So I've accepted the fact that we're never going to get, like, classic human-looking Reptile back canonically ever again, right? But really, Reptile's best design out of all, like, the lizard reptilian designs, in my personal opinion, was fucking the way he looked in Shaolin Monks. And I'm pretty sure it's that same exact costume in Armageddon. That should be what Reptile looks like in all the fucking games now. And in this movie, that's what he should have been. But we didn't get that. We got a CGI lizard man who, to his credit, goes fucking invisible. And he spits acid, and he has a fucking long prehensile tongue. So he's got all the Reptile qualities. It's just not the Reptile I wanted. The highlight of this scene is Kano ends up ripping this guy's heart out, but before he does that, there's this really dumb moment where, because the editing on it is so bad, and the context of it is just so embarrassingly cringy. Basically, he's got Reptile, gets Kano with his tongue, and he's like about to fucking murder Kano, and Sonya looks at Cole, and Cole looks at Sonya, and Sonya's like, knife. and then Cole gets a knife off the table and he throws it to Sonya and it goes slow-mo, and Sonya does like a fucking spin in the air to catch the knife, and then you get like this really harsh cut to like, you don't even see Sonya like correct herself from the spin. So it just like cuts to her stabbing Reptile in the chest. The edit on it is really, really bad. But anyway, Kano uses that opportunity to rip Reptile's heart out. Which, you know, props to them because that is Kano's fatality. That's the OG Kano fatality from the game. He's been doing that shit since Mortal Kombat 1. So it was cool to see. Yeah, so after that, they had decided they have to go find Raiden's temple because schizophrenic conspiracy theorist nut Sonya Blade has Raiden's temple pinpointed as like the location of the Mortal Kombat treasure or some shit. Like she's fucking Nicolas Cage about to steal the Declaration of Independence. And Kano's like, oh, I got a guy in a plane who can fly us there and fucking this and that, and then we're gonna parachute out of the plane into the fucking desert. Because remember, set design doesn't exist in this movie, it's all location shooting. So they literally go to the fucking desert, and I don't know what desert they're even in. Apparently, according to Sonya Blade, no one knows where Raiden's temple is. But Kano knows where Raiden's temple is because he used to run guns through it or something. But no one knows where Raiden's temple is. So I don't know, it's like, it reminds me of that fucking line from, I think it's the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie where they're talking about this place where it's like, this is a place that cannot be found except for those by those who know already where it is, or whatever the fuck that line is. I don't know, it's that kind of shit. So anyway, they trek through the desert and Sonya and Kano have a little fight, right? And it's like, Sonya is like deeply jealous because she doesn't have a dragon tattoo, but Kano does. And she wants to take Kano's dragon tattoo, and she's about to kill him, but she decides no because she's a good guy, or some shit like that. So they run into Liu Kang in the desert, and he hits Kano with a fireball, and you get this fucking comedic moment where he's like, oh, fuck Raiden's temple, you just shot me with a fireball, how'd you do that? Does that mean I'm gonna get superpowers too? Because I got the dragon tattoo? And yes, it turns out in this movie that if you have the magical Mortal Kombat dragon marking tattoo, you get magic powers because, you know, reasons. This movie is like a fucking origin story for like a superhero cinematic universe. It's the exact wrong directions they should have ever taken with a Mortal Kombat movie. What's more interesting? A character like Liu Kang trains his entire life and learns to harness he's trained by a fucking master from Outworld, right? Bo Rai Cho, in the art of fighting, and learns to harness his inner energy and the power of his own soul and his chi in order to do amazing feats where he can conjure and summon fire, right? Or alternative, Liu Kang has a magical dragon tattoo that makes him do that. I don't know, I feel like the first one is more interesting of a character thing. Same thing with all these other characters, like what's more interesting, you know? Fucking, these characters have these, you know, diverse and varied backstories and reasons for being able to do what they can do, or they all just have magical dragon birthmarks that give them magical powers because they have them. I don't know, it's just lame. It's just really lame. Oh, and Kano doesn't even have his cybernetic eye in this movie. And he gets the power later on to shoot laser beams out of his eyes after Kung Lao busts his balls enough. And, you know, there was this big fucking thing originally with the trailer, where, like, there's a shot where Kano's shooting the beam out of his eye, and everybody had a conniption fit because it was the wrong eye that he was shooting out of, completely ignoring the fact that he didn't even have a cybernetic eye. It was just the wrong eye that he was shooting the beam out of. But I got good news for you guys. They actually fixed that in the final movie. They actually took the time to go into Adobe Premiere and right-click on the file and click flip horizontally, and now he shoots it out of the right eye. It's the exact same shot, just flipped, but he shoots it out of the right eye this time. Which actually makes me wonder about the continuity of that whole sequence, because I wonder if they flipped around the entire fucking temple for that whole scene. I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe I'll actually go watch it a third time just because I'm so much of a masochist. I want to see if maybe the continuity is all fucked up in that part. But yeah. Anyway, so Liu Kang comes in and he introduces them to Raiden, and Raiden's like, "Holy shit, these are the guys I'm stuck with. Fuck this." And then Kano makes like 5 or 6 pop culture references in the span of like fucking 5 minutes. He calls like Raiden Gandalf. He calls Liu Kang Magic Mike. He says fucking some shit about Harry Potter, which I'm pretty sure all of these are Warner Bros. Property. Maybe not Gandalf, because that's New Line Cinema. Although, I'm pretty sure that Warner Bros. Has some stake in the game with Lord of the Rings, but I'm not entirely positive. Anyway, yeah, it's like, going down the list, checking off what Warner Bros. Properties they can name drop. So, we get introduced to Shang Tsung decides to just show up at Raiden's temple to kill everybody with Sub-Zero and Melina. They just kind of show up out of the blue. And break the rules of Mortal Kombat because they're supposed to be training for a tournament. And basically, Liu Kang has a job where he's got to, like, unlock, their magic powers or whatever. So, he's got to train these guys to harness the power of their magic dragon birthmark dumb shit. Anyway. So Shang Tsung shows up with Sub-Zero and Melina, and there's like a brief fight, and then Kung Lao shows up and kind of steals the show with his hat, and he even throws the hat and then like teleports underneath the hat, which is something that he got in MKX, which is actually a pretty cool move. I don't know if he had a move like that in prior games. I don't think he did. I think MKX is the first time he has that move. Anyway. So he throws the hat and he teleports underneath it, and he's like, we're here to fight and break the rules of Mortal Kombat and blah blah blah, and the Elder Gods are too lazy to stop me because remember, this is the incompetent era of Mortal Kombat where nobody does anything and stops anything anymore. And then Raiden shows up and he's like, "You must leave this place. I'm gonna put up a barrier that stops you from entering," and he does that. So then, we have a training montage that I kind of described before, where the highlight of this is the Kung Lao training with Cole, because Kung Lao does a whole bunch of moves he does in the game, which all look really good and flow seamlessly. And then, the big thing here is like Cole can't unlock his superpower at all. Neither Cole nor Kano can at first, and it turns out that Jax is alive and is in the fucking underground temple of Raiden, which is basically just some old salt mine that they found. Because remember, set design doesn't exist in this movie, and it's all location shooting. So, Jax is there, and like there's like Shaolin monks building him a set of like flimsy robotic arms. Don't even get me started. So him and Sonya have a moment, and Jax gets up and he's like fucking punching a punching bag with his flimsy fucking robot arms that don't work at all. And it turns out later on that since Jax has a magic tattoo, that his magical power is actually his robot arms. Because when he activates his magic power, they become like super fancy, super bulky, super powerful robot arms instead of these like these flimsy wire-framed fragile things that he's got instead, which is perhaps the dumbest thing I think I've seen in a long time, and this movie should be ashamed of itself. Anyway, I digress. So, Raiden banishes fucking Shang Tsung from the temple temporarily, and then we go back to Outworld, and this is where it starts to be like they put a bunch of Mortal Kombat characters in the hat and picked them out for this movie. Because fucking Shang Tsung's on his throne in Outworld in the desert. And fucking lo and behold, if you had told me 5 years ago, Mitch, they're going to make a Mortal Kombat movie, and Natara from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is going to be in the Mortal Kombat movie, I would have told you that you were insane. But Natara from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is in the movie. She looks absolutely terrible and doesn't really look anything like the character, except for the fact she has fucking bat wings. She shows up and Shang Tsung's like, "Oh, Natara, the great huntress." And then fucking Sub-Zero is there, and fucking Melina comes in, and she's got two other people with her. The first one of which you'd recognize right away if you were even decently versed in Mortal Kombat is the character Kabal, who actually, I thought his design in this movie wasn't bad. It was a little too, like, hey, this is his character from Mortal Kombat 11, because it looks like identical to that. But at the same time, I didn't think it looked bad on film. I would have taken a little bit of a different approach with how I would design his mask, but yeah, he shows up and he looks cool. And he has some fight scenes too, where he uses a lot of like his special moves from the game, like his Nomad Dash and all that kind of stuff. And he's got his hook swords. The only problem I have with them is I can't decide who he sounds more like. If he sounds more like Garfield or if he sounds more like Alf. I don't know what they were thinking with that voice. I mean, I get what they were going for, but I don't know what they were thinking. And then the other person with Melina is the character Reiko. Yeah, that's right. You know, again, if you told me 5 years ago, hey, Mitch, they're going to make a Mortal Kombat movie and they're going to put Reiko in the movie, I would have been less skeptical than I am with Natara, but at the same time, I would have been like, there's no fucking way, you're just out of your mind. But yeah, Reiko's in the movie, and he looks nothing like Reiko from in either of his appearances from I don't know what he looks like in the MKX comic book. I've never actually really read the MKX comics. I just can't be bothered. I'm not really a big comic book reader. Never really was. That was never really my thing. Like, I always liked, like, superheroes and stuff like that. Like, watching, like, mostly from, like, the cartoons as a kid. But I was never, like, a comic book reader. But anyway, I digress. So I've never really read the MKX comics. I don't know what he looks like in that, but he doesn't look a damn thing like he looks in Mortal Kombat 4, and he doesn't look a damn thing like he does in Armageddon. And basically, he's just like this big, hulking, brutish guy with a fucking big old hammer, and it looks like his job is just like to fucking stand there, be imposing, and fucking go, rah! Every now and then. I don't think he has like a single line in the fucking movie. He might have like one line, but all I can remember Reiko doing is fucking going like, ah, gah, rah, like he's some type of fucking monster. Which is ironic because there's also a monster in this movie. Goro is in the movie and he's a CGI mess. And he's basically, it looks like they took his model from fucking one of the games and like beefed it up a bit. Excuse me. Hold on. Oh, this COVID shit sucks, dude. I'm technically better, but like I still feel like the sinusy part of it sometimes. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. All right. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, Goro's in the movie, and his CGI is just bad. It's just bad. I'm just so sick of fucking CGI in movies like this. Like, all right, I get that it's cheaper. And I get in like some aspects, it's the only practical way to do something. Like, for instance, the Marvel movies, right? There's no way that you could ever make Hulk look anywhere convincing on fucking film using practical effects. It's impossible. You could never do the kind of shots you need to do with it, right? He has to be CGI, I get it. But here's the thing. You know, be like, well, Mitch, the same applies to Goro. No, fuck you, they proved you wrong in 1995 when they did a fucking big animatronic puppet Goro that looks 10 times better than he does in this movie. And the beauty of that is that fucking there's something really there for the actor to punch when he punches Goro. There's something really hitting the actor when he gets hit by Goro, right? It just looks and feels so much better. Everything about it just looks and feels so much better. But yeah, so Goro shows up in this movie, and basically in this movie, he's like Reiko, in the sense of like, he's like, rah, rah. He has like maybe like 2 lines in the whole movie. You know, one of the things I liked about the 95 movie is like Goro's supposed to be like a prince, right? So this was something that was added after the first Mortal Kombat game, because in the first Mortal Kombat game, I will give credit, he is really just like a big monster that exists to be like, and you fight him in like some fucking dungeon, right? So in the later games and stuff, he's a prince, and he's fairly well spoken, you know, for being a monster. And he has, you know, like a princely attitude to him, and because he's fucking royalty, and he, you know, has some degree of manners. And one of my favorite scenes is when fucking in the 95 movie is when him and Kano are sitting at a table having something to fucking eat, and Kano's just like has no fucking manners and is being just a fucking asshole, and Goro, of all people, criticizes his fucking table manners. The big monster... Dude, you know you have no table manners when the big monster criticizes the way you eat your fucking chicken. So, anyway. Shang Tsung gathers up his posse, and Cabal is like, oh, did you run into a guy down there named Kano? You know, he owes me like $20 or something, and he put me in a fucking iron lung. I bet we could get him to betray everybody. Even though I hate this guy, I want to work with him, or something like that. So Cabal goes down there, and Kano just happens to go near the edge of the force field, and Cabal meets him there, and he's like, hey, Kano, you know, what the fuck are you doing here? Why are you siding with the good guys? You're a bad guy, remember? In the video games, you're a bad guy. You're supposed to be working with us. In fact, in the video games, I'm actually technically supposed to be sort of like a good guy at this point in the story, but, you know, I'm actually the bad guy in this movie. Really, our roles should be reversed, because that's how it should be. But anyway, how about you take down this force field for us and we'll pay you money? That's basically what Cabal said in a nutshell. So, Kano goes and deactivates the force field. And they go have this big fucking fight, where, like, all Shao Kahn's guys go into fucking the temple and start fighting all of Raiden's guys, you know. And it's completely against the rules of fucking Mortal Kombat. But, you know, like I said, if we live in the incompetent era of Mortal Kombat, where the Elder Gods don't care and can't be bothered, and Raiden himself can't be bothered, which is going to be really confusing in a minute when we get to it, because there's tons of stuff Raiden could have fucking done. So, we have a whole bunch of fight scenes where, like, Liu Kang fights Cabal. I don't know, the pairings of who fights who in this movie seems a little odd. So, Liu Kang fights Cabal, and their fight scene isn't bad, but the thing is, it's all intercut. All these fights are intercut, so you're like constantly ping-ponging around back and forth between everything, and the continuity is a little rough, and it's just, I don't know, I just didn't like it. So, Jax ends up fighting Reiko, who has a big hammer, because he had a big hammer in Armageddon, I guess. Although, I believe he also had a hammer in... I don't remember what he had in MK4, what his weapon was. It's been a long time since I've played MK4. He might have had a hammer in that, too. Although, I believe Raiden had a hammer in that. But Reiko could have had a hammer as well. But anyway, Reiko has a big hammer, and he beats the fuck out of Jax with his big hammer. And, you know... Jax's dinky little robot arms can't do shit, and then Melina beats up Sonya, but she doesn't kill Sonya because Sonya doesn't have a dragon tattoo, so her death has no worth. And let me just say, Melina doesn't even belong in this movie, dude. Like, Melina's whole shtick is like her beef with Katana. That's like her whole story in fucking Mortal Kombat, right? I mean, they've changed it up a little bit with like the recent games, but you gotta remember that we got 9 more games before we get to Mortal Kombat X. Okay, where, like, her role in the story fucking changed. Her whole entire thing is, like, her beef with Katana. And the fact that she's a clone of Katana that's meant to be her replacement because Shao Kahn doesn't think Katana's a good enough daughter for him. So he pretty much wants to clone a Katana that's actually going to be a better daughter. So that's like her whole story revolves around that fact that she is a clone of Katana. Why is Katana not in the movie with Melina? It makes no sense. She shouldn't be there. You're wasting her character. Complete waste of a character. So, I forgot who Cole even fights in this movie. He might fight Sub-Zero in this scene. I don't even remember. Oh no, he's not there. That's right. Alright, so Cole can't unlock his power. So Raiden's like, hey, Cole, fuck you, go home. So Cole goes home. But before that, Raiden reveals, oh, you're actually descended from Hanzo Hasashi, the greatest ninja who ever walked the earth. He was so fucking good. He was the best ninja to ever walk the fucking earth. His dick is so big. But you suck, Cole. Take this kunai and go home. No, he doesn't give him the kunai yet. He gives the kunai later. So Cole goes home with his family. And then Goro shows up in his shed. That's right, Goro shows up in his shed. And he breaks out of the shed and goes fights Cole in Cole's house. And remember, we're cutting back and forth between Cole fighting Goro in fucking Ohio and fucking a bunch of people having their own individual fights in a salt mine in the middle of the Gobi fucking desert or whatever the fuck we are. And we're just constantly ping-ponging back and forth, right? It's just an editing nightmare. And because you're just constantly jumping around, there's like no actual tension to anything that's happening because, you know, by the time Jax gets in trouble, we're cutting to Sonya Blade. By the time Sonya Blade gets in trouble, we're cutting to Kung Lao. By the time Kung Lao does his thing, we're cutting to Liu Kang. Then we're cutting to Cole. Then we're cutting to Cabal. Then we're cutting to Liu Kang. Then we're cutting to back to Jax. Then we're cutting to Reiko. Then we're cutting to Raiden. And it's like, oh my god. Fucking, what did you have? ADHD when you edited this movie? Calm down. There's plenty of time. So, hold on. Oh, I need another drink. All right. So anyway, Cole ends up unlocking his power, which is called an Arcana in this movie. I guess you have to like experience some sort of life-changing event to unlock your Arcana. Although that's kind of thrown out the window because Sonya Blade ends up developing her Arcana instantaneously. But, like, Liu Kang, like, wasn't born with a dragon tattoo. But it turns out that he was, like, an orphan who was, like, fucking sold in child trafficking. And when he's an adult, he goes back and kills the child trafficker and gets the dragon tattoo from him. Because, that guy had a tattoo. And that he gets his Arcana because he fucking killed the guy who sold him as a child or some shit. But anyway, Kano gets his when Kung Lao pisses him off enough because he won't pass him a fucking egg roll. Which honestly, the egg roll that Kung Lao ate didn't even look that fucking good. It looked like the soggiest fucking egg roll I've ever seen. So Cole fighting Goro, right? Getting his ass kicked. Goro, his wife tries to save him. She hits Goro with like a woodcutting axe. And it pisses off Goro and he tries to kill Cole's family. And this like triggers Cole enough to activate his Arcana, which his power is literally plot armor. I'm not even joking. Like his superpower is like he gets armor all over his body. Like this golden fucking metallic armor. That lets him like tank blows and stuff like that. His power, it's not even plot armor. His power is fucking super armor. And he's like fucking Shao Kahn in MK9, where he just has super armor on everything, all the time. Fucking hell. So, Cole gets this magic power, where he's got like super armor, all over his body. And Goro can now just like fucking punch him and Cole don't even feel a fucking thing. Yeah, then it turns out that not only does he have super armor, he gets fucking tonfas, too. He's got like bladed tonfas. He turns into like fucking Talim from Soul Calibur. Except instead of being an underage girl, he's a fucking grown-ass man. And both are still super lame. Don't ever think otherwise. Alright? So, So he turns into like Talim from Soul Calibur, and he's got like these bladed tonfas. And then he just like fucking eviscerates Goro almost like instantaneously with his new tonfa toys. And then Raiden opens up a portal and sends Cole back to the Salt Temple, where he shows up. And at this point, Kung Lao fights Natara, if you could even call it a fight. Hold on one sec. Oh, fuck. Ooh. That was a powerful one. Alright, sorry about that. I don't think I'm going to cut that out because I thought that was funny. Alright. So, yeah, Kung Lao fights Natara, if you could even call it that. He basically fucking, like, throws his hat, and then he, like, rides Natara, and he makes his hat spin on the ground, and he, like, rides Natara into his spinning hat and does like the buzzsaw fatality. You know, the one where it's like spinning on the ground. And normally he would like fucking pull you through it, but in this one he just like lets Natara's momentum carry her through into the spinning hat. So Natara's in the movie and she doesn't even do anything except fly around. It's really dumb. Not that I'm a big Natara fan, but you know, like if you're gonna have the character in the movie, at least have them fucking do something. Like, come on now. I don't even remember what moves Natara even had, so I guess all's fair in love and war, because Natara was so unmemorable that I don't even remember a fucking move that she had in Deadly Alliance. I think she had a move where she drinks your blood. I think that was it. That's all I remember. So, anyway, I digress. So Kung Lao kills Natara, and then he tries to fight Shang Tsung. But Shang Tsung, ain't having none of that shit. And Cole comes back just in time to witness Kung Lao get grabbed by Shang Tsung and have his soul sucked out of his body by Shang Tsung. And, Raiden is like, hey, Shang Tsung, thanks for helping Cole find his Arcana by sending Goro to kill him. So, remember, by the way, I want to remind everybody at this point, there's supposed to be a Mortal Kombat tournament at some point in this movie where we're getting close to the third act, where probably about an hour and a half into this movie, there's like 20 minutes left. We have not gotten to the Mortal Kombat tournament yet. Shang Tsung steals Kung Lao's soul, which very disappointing to me because, again, I thought like Kung Lao was perhaps the best part of this movie, and it was kind of sad to see who I thought was like the best well portrayed character in the movie to fucking go. Jax discovers his magic power because Sonya gets trapped under a rock, and he has to like lift up the rock to save Sonya, and it activates his magic power, and he gets like his super powerful robot arms that he has in the movie, and it's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen. He rescues Sonya, and then Raiden teleports everybody away to safety. Which, we then find out that, so first of all, they ask, like, Raiden, what the fuck? Why didn't you save Kung Lao? And he's like, I'm forbidden from interfering in Mortal Kombat. I'm here to protect the realm of Earth, but I can't save anyone every time. And first of all, it's like, dude, alright, you can't save everyone at every time. I understand that. I understand that you can't save fucking Joe Schmo working at the fucking nuclear power plant during the nuclear meltdown. I understand that. But, like, for Christ's sakes, dude, this is your fucking champion. This is your big fucking hero who's supposed to help you save your fucking world. Like, you can't... Yeah, I get you can't save everybody, but you could at least save him, you dumb fucking piece of shit. Anyway, so then it's revealed that... Because Cole asks, and Cole comes up with the phenomenal idea of, hey, if they don't want a tournament, well, let's make our own tournament and separate them and fight them one-on-one, even though we just fought them all one-on-one, and we got our asses kicked. This time, maybe if we fight them one-on-one in other places, then we'll win. And then it's revealed that Raiden can just teleport anywhere, anyone, anywhere, at any time, for any reason whatsoever. Which raises a whole bunch of questions of, like, why he didn't even have to teleport his guys away. Why didn't he just teleport Shang Tsung and all his goons away? Or is Shang Tsung powerful enough to stop Raiden from doing that? I thought Raiden was a fucking god. Like, come on now. So, yeah, Cole decides that he's not done being the fucking, most cliche, dumbest, deviant art, do not steal OC ever. And he decides he's going to play matchmaker, and he's going to plan his little mini tournament, and he's going to pair up everybody. And Jax ends up being assigned to fight Reiko. And, I said before that set design doesn't exist in this movie. And that's still true, because they don't fight in a set, they fight on a green screen. I would be shocked if they built this as a set. I'm pretty sure it's a green screen, and it's set up like the pit from Mortal Kombat 9 is what it looks like. It's not the pit from Mortal Kombat 1, it's the pit from Mortal Kombat 9. And he fights Reiko there. And he doesn't even do the stage fatality at the fucking pit. He just, to his credit, he does do the Jax fatality where he fucking does, the thunderclap and, squishes your head like a fucking melon on Reiko. But, why are you at the pit if you're not... Just who wrote this thing? Chekhov's fucking gun. If you're not going to use the pit in the movie, don't put the fight at the pit. Come on now. So anyway, Sonya gets assigned to fight Kano, and she goes and fights Kano at her house in fucking Ohio, or wherever the fuck they were, in the fucking trailer park, and she kills Kano with a garden gnome, because he spit on her garden gnome earlier, and it turns out that Kano doesn't like garden gnomes, so he gets a garden gnome in the eye, and Sonya gets her magic dragon tattoo from killing Kano, which is, again, who wrote this thing? So, Cole fights Melina, and he has a really difficult time fighting Melina. And then Sonya Blade shows up out of nowhere and saves him with her magic power that she developed almost instantaneously, because she can now shoot the purple rings out of her fucking hands like she does in the video game. And she does that and instantly blows a hole in Melina's torso. So Cole could beat Goro, but he couldn't beat Melina. Let that sink in for a minute. So, who else fights? Oh, Liu Kang fights Cabal. And he does this fatality where so you know how Liu Kang turns into a dragon? Well, thankfully, he didn't turn into a dragon, because, let's be honest, that shit would be stupid. And that's something that looks really good in a video game, because it's a video game, but seeing that shit on film, seeing Liu Kang turn into a dragon and eat somebody, wouldn't make a damn fucking a sense, or would it look good on film. So instead, he summons a big fire dragon to eat Cabal, but it doesn't really eat Cabal, it just burns him alive. So when all that is said and done, it turns out that while all this was happening, Sub-Zero went back to Ohio, or wherever the fuck they were. I'm just assuming it's Ohio. I don't even know where they are. I think it is Ohio, right? Because Jack says go to Columbus, Ohio. So he goes back to Ohio to find Cole's family, and he kidnaps them and freezes them in an MMA gym, the same MMA gym that fucking Cole fights in at the beginning of the movie. And then he goes through a portal to taunt Cole with his daughter's bracelet that she made, one for him and one for Cole at the beginning of the movie. So Cole has his daughter's bracelet, and Sub-Zero has Sub-Zero has Cole's daughter's bracelet, and it's all frozen. He's like, "Hey Cole, come get me." So Cole chases him. And Raiden also gave Cole at this point a kunai, and he was like, "Hey, this belonged to your ancestor. Hopefully it does something cool at some point." So
he follows Sub-Zero through a portal and he ends up in an MMA gym from the beginning of the movie, except it's all frozen now. It's all completely frozen over. Because... Oh, this is the climax of the movie, by the way. So, out of all the great locations to have, like, the final fight of your Mortal Kombat movie, I'm going to give you a tip. For anybody who's going to write another Mortal Kombat movie, here's a pro tip from me. If you need a location for the final fight of your Mortal Kombat movie, use an iconic location from the video game. Do not use a frozen over MMA gym. Okay? I'm glad we had this talk. So, Cole fights Sub-Zero and quickly gets his ass kicked. And then Scorpion shows up from out of nowhere because Sub-Zero touches like Scorpion's old kunai and it like summons Scorpion from the Netherrealm, and he shows up and he throws his spear through Sub-Zero's shoulder and he's like, "Get over here!" And it's like, Scorpion, you learned English. That's great. All that time in hell, you ended up learning English. Now you can speak English with Sub-Zero, who's been speaking English since the fucking 17th century. So, Sub-Zero and Scorpion have a fight, and Cole... It would be a cool fight if it wasn't intercut with Cole Young nonsense, where he's like fucking punching away at the ice that's frozen his family with his fucking tonfas. It's like the... First of all, why do you think that would work? Number one. Number two, what are you going to do if that doesn't work, and you end up fucking shattering your frozen daughter into a million pieces? Like, why on earth did you think... I'm not even insulted that it did work in the movie. That's not the insulting part. The insulting part is the fact that I'm supposed to believe that this character, in any logical sense, would think, hey, if I punch these frozen people enough, they'll become unfrozen. I'm not even insulted that it works. I'm just insulted by the idea of that a character would even conceive of that. So, anyway, Scorpion and Sub-Zero have their fight, and the choreography is good in this one. It's just not as good as the original fight from the beginning of the movie. There's a lot of very long pauses, so to speak. So, like, there's this whole sequence, and you see it in the trailer, where, like, Sub-Zero, like, stabs Scorpion, and Scorpion, like, kneels down for, like, 2 seconds, while Sub-Zero, like, freezes the blood, and then he stabs Scorpion again, and Scorpion's like, ow, I've been hurt. But I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to stay kneeling down and give Sub-Zero enough time so he can make a wall of ice and then throw me through it. It was like watching a fucking badly performed pro wrestling match. And this is someone who grew up with pro wrestling and actually enjoys the performance aspect of pro wrestling. When everything's going well and like they really make like a match look good, it's one thing. But like a lot of times, there's those, like, awkward moments where both guys aren't really doing their best, and you can tell that shit is, like, so fake because the guy will just, like, stand there and let him pick him up. You know what I mean? It was, like, a moment like that. So, yeah. So, Sub-Zero kind of gets the better of Scorpion, and then Cole decides to fight Scorpion and Sub-Zero, decides to fight Sub-Zero with Scorpion 2 against 1. And Scorpion still proceeds to get his ass kicked. And Cole, who was established to be a shitty fighter at the beginning of the movie, who has, as far as we know, no weapon training experience, manages to pretty much defeat Sub-Zero, with his shitty tonfas. Meanwhile, Sub-Zero at this point, and according to this movie's story, has at least 400 years of fighting experience in training. So, I guess it's a fluke. I don't know. But, yeah, he manages to beat up Sub-Zero so that Scorpion can recover, and then Scorpion kind of does, like, the finishing moves on Sub-Zero. Although, before he does that, there's, like, a fucking... It's just, it goes back to like the whole, the language discrepancies from earlier in the movie, where like Scorpion only speaks Japanese, but Sub-Zero speaks Japanese, Chinese, and English.
And Cole, as far as we know, only speaks English. And Scorpion says to him in Japanese. But Scorpion learned enough English to say, get over here in hell. But he doesn't speak any more English than that, I suppose. I guess that's the only phrase he learned. I wonder who he learned it from and how he ended up learning that. But, anyway, he says to, like, Cole in Japanese, like, go be with your family, I'll finish this. And, like, Cole somehow understood that. Like, I don't know, man. I haven't been in a lot of situations where I've had somebody, just turn directly to me and speak a language that I don't speak, as if, like, telling me to do something. I haven't been in a lot of situations like that, but I've been in a couple, and let me tell you, I didn't understand a damn fucking word they said. So I don't know how Cole knew what the hell Scorpion was even saying to him at that point. It's like that fucking, alright, bear with me here, because I'm gonna make a JoJo reference, and I know that makes people fucking mad. It's like that scene in Stardust Crusaders, where, like, Jotaro is walking towards Dio, and Dio does his whole, like, oh, you're approaching me thing, and Jotaro is like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I can't beat the shit out of you, I'm getting closer, or whatever. But the thing is, like, there's a meme of that, where it's because Jotaro's from Japan, and it's kind of like he would probably only really speak Japanese. So there's a funny meme where, it's Dio delivering that line, and then it cuts to Jotaro, and, like, the text for the meme is all in Japanese, right? And then it cuts back to Dio, and he's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? So it's like that kind of shit. Like, how the hell does Cole speak Japanese? Anyway, so Scorpion ends up killing Sub-Zero, and he does the toasty fatality on him. Except it's not as cool, because he doesn't, like, rip off his entire face and reveal a skull. His face, the bottom half of his face just kind of, like, heats up and turns into, like, a vaguely skull-like thing, and he blows fire on him. So, remember, there's supposed to be a Mortal Kombat tournament at some point. We're at the end of the movie, and it still didn't happen. So, everybody shows up now at the Frozen MMA gym with, like, Raiden and all the gang. And, Raiden's like, oh, hey, Cole, you did it. You killed Sub-Zero, and Scorpion's soul can rest in peace. Also, I like how this movie was billed as, like, the big Scorpion versus Sub-Zero movie. And Scorpion is, like, in the beginning of the movie, and then he doesn't show up again until the end. He's missing for about an hour and, I'm going to say, an hour and 20 minutes of the movie. He is completely absent from it. Except for, like, there's a scene where Cole looks in the mirror and it flashes to Scorpion. He's like, I'm Scorpion in hell. And Cole's like, whoa. There's, like, a scene or two like that. But anyway, I digress. So Shang Tsung shows up and he's like, well, it looks like you're running this time, Raiden, but that's okay. Next time I'm going to bring an army of the dead with me. Implying that he's just going to resurrect all the characters who died anyway, or some shit like that. So, yeah, Scorpion goes back to hell. Cole reunites with his family. There's no real, like, epilogue for, like, Liu Kang and Sonya and Jax and all that. And then it's revealed that, like, Cole is back in the locker room of the same gym that was frozen over. So I wonder how fucking long it took for all that ice to melt. Was that place closed down for a while, or did Raiden use, like, his powers to melt the ice? Did Liu Kang go around melting all the ice? If he did that, I know that, like, part of ice sublimates and turns directly into water vapor, but, like, how did they clean up all the fucking water that would be all over the place? So anyway, questions about how the place got cleaned the fuck up aside, excuse me, sorry. Questions about all that aside, Cole's having a conversation with the guy who was busting his balls earlier in the movie about, oh, Cole, you can't fight, blah, 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 blah. And Cole's like, oh, yeah, well, I quit. And he's like, where you going, Cole? You need me, kid. You can't get around without me. You need me. Come on, Rocky. You need me. I'm your trainer. right? That kind of shit. And Cole's like, nah, I'm going to Hollywood. And he's like, what you gonna fucking do in Hollywood? There's nothing in Hollywood. It's all closed down due to COVID. He doesn't actually say that, but, I couldn't help but make the joke. But, Cole's like, it's not about what's in Hollywood. It's who's in Hollywood. And then he walks away. And then the camera, pans to a fucking poster, a movie poster, of Johnny Cage in Citizen Cage, Fight for Your Rights, and it's literally, you don't even see Johnny Cage's face. I'm 89% sure it's a 3D rendered model of one of his skins from MK11. 89% sure. So there's an 11% chance that it could be something else, but I'm 89% sure that's what it is. And then the movie just ends. There was no Mortal Kombat tournament. It's implied that, Cole is gonna go around the world recruiting future Mortal Kombat characters. And he's gonna recruit Johnny Cage, and who knows what else, who knows what character they're gonna pull out of the hat for the next one if they make a sequel to this. Fucking... Dude, at this point, the bets are fucking off. Fucking Dairu is gonna be in Mortal Kombat 2. Fucking, I don't know, maybe we'll see fucking Kai at this point. I don't know. I cannot even accurately predict who would even be in a fucking sequel after they put Natara and Reiko in the fucking movie. And Melina was there when she really shouldn't have been, and fucking Kano's entire backstory was changed, and Cabal was just there because... I'm not complaining that Cabal was there. It was cool to see Cabal and have him. But at the same time, it was what? And for fuck's sake, why does he sound like Garfield? Anyway. This movie was fucking bad, alright? I hated this movie so much. I hated this movie so fucking much. When it eventually comes to, DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and, there's less of a chance of being taken to copyright hell, I do want to make, an actual proper review using clips from the movie to demonstrate how fucking atrocious this goddamn movie is. But, for right now, you're gonna have to settle for this. Anyway. So, what are the key takeaways here? Besides that this movie is bad and I hate it. The good. Kung Lao, Kano, Cabal, all great. As far as, representing the characters from the video game. With the exception of Kano's backstory. Everything but that is great. Kung Lao was the best, in far as being done well. Sub-Zero, also, I have to say, Sub-Zero was good. The guy who played him was a little wooden, but also, I don't think that they hired him for his acting skills. I think they hired him for his martial arts skills. So I think he should get a pass. What else was good? The first 7 minutes are alright. The fight scene with Sub-Zero and Jax is alright, too. It's all downhill after that. So... Oh, there's also some other Mortal Kombat Easter eggs that I noticed that, they're nice to see, but at that point, they can't save it, right? So, for instance, in Raiden's Salt Temple, there's, a big CGI statue of, Fujin. At least I'm pretty sure it's Fujin. There's also Quan Chi's amulet, Shinnok's amulet, is in Raiden's temple. And fucking Kano, picks it up to steal it, which is, canonically what he did in, the MKX comics or whatever. But, so he picks up the amulet and he steals it, but then Liu Kang's put that back, right? But it's, unclear if, Kano ever actually puts it back or whatever, but I guess it doesn't fucking matter because he's dead now anyway. But maybe he gave the amulet to Shang Tsung, who's gonna give it to Quan Chi, who's gonna resurrect Shinnok, and we're gonna have a terrible fucking sequel with, fucking Shinnok and fucking Hotaru is gonna be in the movie, and fucking Dairu is gonna be in the movie, and then we'll have fucking,
Suhao is gonna be in the movie. Fucking, who are they gonna pull out of the fucking hat? Ferrator is gonna be in the movie. Fucking every Mortal Kombat character you never thought would ever make it into a movie is gonna be in the fucking sequel. Let me tell you that. So, anyway, oh my god, I've ranted about this thing for close to 2 hours now. It was cathartic. It was really cathartic. If you stuck with me all this way so far, I appreciate it 100%. Thank you for listening to me, you guys. I promise I want to do more with this YouTube channel this year. It's just been such a fucking tough year. It's been a tough 2 years for me on this channel, but I'm hoping to get back into the swing of things. I really am. So yeah, if you stuck with me all the way through this so far, thank you for sticking around and listening to me rant. I'm curious what any of you guys thought about this Mortal Kombat movie. If you thought this movie was good, well, first of all, I want to reiterate, if you thought this movie was good, and if you thought the 95 movie was bad, I never want you to speak to me again, okay? I'm joking. You can speak to me all you want. I don't really care. But still, just know that I think you have bad taste. And if you're one of those people who says that the 95 movie is bad, but you acknowledge that this movie is bad, I want a formal written apology. I might even set up a P.O. box so you can mail it to me. Alright? If you thought this movie was good, if you genuinely thought this movie was good, I actually want to know why. I genuinely do, because I can't personally see it. I can't personally see how, if you're a fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise and of the Mortal Kombat lore and of the characters, and even if you just like the fighting games, right? I can't really, like, even if you just like the fighting games from like a purely competitive aspect, right? If you're one of those like FGC kind of people who don't give a fuck about any character story and you fucking play as Cabal because he has the best fucking zoning game in MK9, right? Even if you're one of those kind of people, and you like this movie, I can't see how. I can't see how. So I'm curious for the people who actually liked it. I would love to know why. I genuinely would. And I don't mean that in like a condescending, mean, cruel way. I'm not gonna like bust your chops and make fun of you and be an asshole. I would actually just love to hear a counter opinion of someone who did really enjoy the movie. Tell me why they really enjoyed the movie. Maybe it'll help me make sense of things a little bit. But yeah, as it stands, this movie was a fucking mess. Man, if you thought Mortal Kombat 11 was a total mess, this movie made the story mode of Mortal Kombat 11 look good. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end it here. You guys have a good one out there. You guys stay safe. I know things are fucking crazy in the world we live in today. So, hopefully things stay together, and maybe, down the line we'll get a good Mortal Kombat movie one day. Oh wait, we already did that. They released that in 1995.